Hello, this is Pastor Terry Weems, New Life Fellowship Church. God bless you and you and you. Hey, listen, we're here working on a little technology, trying to get some things together for broadcast. And as we're doing that, I'm thinking about what we were talking about this past Wednesday night. This past Wednesday night, we've done a Bible study on humility. And as it relates to humility, then that deals with staying low to the ground. It deals with having a mindset that you're not better than anyone else. In connection with that, this may be a little story that can help out preachers, particularly anybody. But I remember hearing this particular story about a young man who had grew up in a small town, and he went away to college. And in his small town, there was a little old country church there. And the little old country church had an old preacher there. And with this old preacher being there, the young man ended up going to college. Coming back from college, he ended up studying, going to seminary school. He was involved in studying, trying to become a preacher, and he got his degree and came back to town, man, and he thought he was all of that. He comes back to town, he ends up meeting the old preacher at the church, and the old preacher found out who he was and said, "Well, boy, would you like to preach for me?" And boy decided, he said, "Yes, sir, I'd love to preach for you." The young man went out advertising that he was going to be preaching that Sunday, and he went around telling everybody, "Y'all need to come to church Sunday because a real preacher is going to be preaching, and you'll be able to hear a real word from God." And so he's pumping himself up and being braggadocious. He put out flyers on his own, y'all, to tell everybody, come to church. That particular Sunday, when they arrived at church, a lot of people were there because people knew the young kid when he was a little boy, and he had told everybody, self-advertising and all. And he gets to church there, and church has already started, and the old preacher is there, and they're involved in doing their thing. And the young boy decided to be late for church. Can you believe it? He comes in late, got on his suit, got his briefcase, and walked up in the pulpit like he's all of that, and sat down, crossed his legs, and he's waiting to preach. And they go through the church service. The old preacher get up, introduce the young man, and say, "After Amazing Grace, we're going to have this young man to preach for us." And so he's looking all pious and high and mighty, and they sang Amazing Grace, and time for him to preach. The young boy got up, and he looked up after they sung the last clause of Amazing Grace. He looked around and saw all the people, and he saw all the people, and then it dawned on him. And all of a sudden now, he was not all of that. He got tight-lipped, couldn't say anything, no words would even come out of his mouth. And he's there pausing, and he's looking, and everybody's looking, and you got this unsettling in the congregation. And with that unsettling, after a little while, it kind of became uncomfortable. And the old preacher tried to sing another song to give him another chance, but he could not get anything out. After several minutes, the old preacher got up, eased up behind him, and put his arms around him, and sang a little bit more, and just eased him back down to his seat behind him. And the old preacher got up, y'all, and preached the place happy. I mean, he shook the coin and done all that he was going to do. And after service was over, everything is done, and people are shaking everybody's hand, shaking the preacher's hand, and this young man is standing there, and he's looking really distraught, because once the old man had put his arms around him and sat him down, he eased back down to his seat, and he kept his head down. And you would know what happened, ladies and gentlemen. After that, he's thoroughly embarrassed. An old mother in the church, after everybody's coming around shaking his hand, said, "Oh, you done all right, boy. You done all right." Old mother came around and said, "Boy, let me tell you something." And she grabbed him and pulled him to the side. And she said, "Young man, these other folks around here trying to make you feel good." She said, "But Mama love you. And Mama gonna tell you something that's gonna help you." She said, "Boy, don't you ever forget this. If you had got up like you sat down, you could have sat down like you got up." Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that. Stay low to the ground. God bless you. I love you.